Howdy fellow model railroaders, my name is Kevin Brown and I want to thank you for checking out my YouTube channel. I've been having some trouble getting things accomplished in both for model railroading and the other things that I do. It just seems like time was getting away from me. So I decided to change things up a bit and try and change model railroading into my weekend project, something that I just make sure I make space for each weekend to put a little time in on. And it's worked really well. I can't take credit for this idea. I've pretty much shamelessly stolen it from Redbird Tony 2010. I like what he gets done, and that seems to be his approach, and it sure made a difference. I've managed to get quite a lot done, not the least of which putting ground foam and stuff down at Brownsville. So I'm pretty hopeful that this will keep going. Other things lately that I've managed to take care of is I finally found the building to fit there, the last one I'll need for Minneapolis. So I'm making real progress on the layout, and hopefully this will keep going the way it has been. In addition, today I'd like to, in this video, go over the footage from the Decatur train show a few weeks back. So sit back and enjoy, and I'll show you what steps took to get this done. Thank you very much. Well, as you can see, I went ahead and took my layout down. I want to have room to work on this project of scenicking the Brownsville area, and that gives me plenty of room. I had to take a bunch of stuff down when I took it over to the Decatur train show anyway, so I thought I'll go ahead and take the layout down and I'll work on this. And what I'm going to try and do, I found the first thing you really need to do is to make sure you get the ballast between here down good and solid so it doesn't end up all over everywhere. So that's my next project. That's my first step, I think, towards getting that side scenic. Now, I don't use anything really special or fancy. This ballast is what Decatur makes to match their stuff, and it works pretty good. So I've just been using that. And then the Woodland Scenic Cement, which flows very nice and will do a good job. And I'm kind of old school. I put everything on with an eyedropper. The only prep work I've done, looking down here at these two, is I always paint between the area where I'm going to go a light gray, just in case the ballast ends up getting thinned out over time. And as you can see, I did all that, and I went ahead and also put a little gray paint in here while I had it out, so that if the platforms are a little off center, it won't really show. So that's kind of where I'm starting. So next I'll start spreading some ballast and putting some glue on. One last thing while I'm thinking about it. You see that the Decatur Unitrack has various holes in the track to allow for wiring. I don't know if you can see or not. I went ahead and spent a little time and plugged those up with white glue on the off chance that the scenic cement would float through them and gum up the works on switches and other things. Obviously, you also have to be very careful where the switch throws are, not to get glue or ballast in there. That's the first time I've tried that kind of prep. Hopefully it'll solve some problems. But anyway, so enough of this. Time to put some ballast on and put some glue on. Okay, the ballast is in place. I use nothing fancier than a stiff bristle brush about the right width. I tried to smooth it out as much as I can, but it kind of gets swooshed around by the eyedropper anyway, so I'm not going to get too worked up about that. I'll adjust it as I go. So let's see how this works. Okay, we've used the dry dropper and put the scenic cement on quite liberally. The scenic cement has a wetting agent in it already, so it just has to give time to soak on through. And as you can see, I've made very sure not to foul up the switches. Okay, so that's the end of this one. So now I got to do it on the other module too. So the other ones, the second module is all down and glued. As you can see, I put a lot of glue on this. I want it to soak in real good. These modules tend to get banged around quite a lot, so the stronger the better. I was worried about how I was going to do it under the bridge, but it ended up being less of a pain than I expected. So that's the first step of scenery. The next step is to mask off where all the buildings go, and I actually have one building left to build. I'll tell you what, let me show that real quick. I picked up this little tower some time ago. It's designed to integrate in with the platforms that I use. I thought it looked really neat, so I'm going to build the standalone version down there. That's going to be my yard office, so I got all that stuff to dig through, and instructions kind of in English. And so I'll work on that, and that'll be next. Talk to you later. Fortunately, there were instructions in English as well as Japanese, and you end up with a very cool little snap-together kit. I'm not even going to bother to paint that. That looks just perfect. So that was a nice little exercise. So that's going to be the new yard office. I've got to figure out where it and the parking lot are going to go, and then start masking off where all the buildings are so I can start laying some ground foam. So that's the next step. Okay, on reflection, I think I'm going to put the yard office / tower here, which should keep it out of the way of all the switch mechanisms. If I put, I'm going to have to trim the parking lot, but I put it there. I think that should work out pretty well. I use, this is the same brand bush that I use their roads, and I used their roads and stuff on my bridge and on my other side. I really like the product. It's probably set up more for European prototype, but I really like the way it works. So I have to do that, and in addition, I've got all the buildings where they need to go, and I have to mark out where they are and masking tape those all off. So that's my next step. Okay, everything is all masked out where the foundations for all the buildings are going to go, and the parking lot. I also took out my UP5, you can see it over there. Didn't want to get any glue and crap in that. And so I'm ready to put scenics down. Now I use the Woodland Scenic system. I'm still kind of new at it. Here's the basics. They got your fine turf in several colors along with the scenic cement to glue everything down. Then it goes to coarse turf and then underbrush. So try and use some of this and we'll see how it all works out. I'm going to vary things up a little bit. In the past, I've used the squirt bottle with the scenic cement, and it just gets everywhere. So I'm going to try and apply it with a brush, and at least initially, and try not to make such a big mess. As you can see, though, I've already put paper underneath everything, just in case I make a mess anyway. So I'll get back to you after we get some stuff done. Okay, I've put all the ground foam on the modules. As you can see, I've unmasked these. Masking tape will leave a nice space for all the buildings. This one I haven't quite got the masking tape off yet because I just put that gravel parking lot in, so we'll see. I may be a while for that's done. But really, I made great progress today. The next thing will be painting the front of the modules black and doing some touch-up and things like that. So stay tuned. Well, the glue is more or less dry on the ground foam, so I went ahead and used my silicone sealant to glue the buildings all in place. As you can see, I'm not going to be gluing the platforms in. I'm going to let those float until I get around to super detailing them. I got the parking lot installed and the new tower, and all in all, pretty happy with all that. Now this has all got to dry. There's a lot of detail work I want to fix on the scenery and the ground foam. I'll mess with that probably tomorrow, but good progress. I'm hoping you can see the differences here. On the left, I have touched up the ground foam and tried to cover up as many of the spots that peek through as possible. Over here, I haven't gotten to this stuff on the right, and you can see how there is quite a lot of the baseboard showing through. So that's why I'm spending a little time and touching this up. I also put another coat of glue on everything so it's nice and solid. So, yep, that's my project for this morning. Touch-up's done. First coat of black on the front is done. I'm really happy with the way this is all coming out. Next step is to clean this incredible disaster area up, put things back together, and run some trains and do the reveal. So stick with me. It's going to take a while. I couldn't be happier with the way the terrain, the ground foam turned out. It's also kind of fun to dust off my British equipment and run it around a bit. So that's Brownsville. Next, I'd like to go over the footage from the Decatur train show. I hope you enjoy it. Here's a quick overview for the Decatur train show in spring of 2019. You can see it's still kind of early. People are filing in. But it's a nice show. And here's the end scale of Bloomington normals set up. It's still early yet. There'll be more people, but that's kind of the best overview I can get. This is the 3-rail O setup from Indianapolis. It is very impressive. Can't imagine all the work necessary to move and set this up, but it is very much a crowd pleaser. Take some other looks around it here. Absolutely in love with their engine facility here. It's amazing how much they fit in there, especially in O scale.
Put your plane back up by the hangar.
That's a very nice setup yard too. This is just an amazing layout. This is the host club's HO layout, more or less based on N-track. Very nicely detailed. This scene's got a lot of detail. I really like the baseball game too. Golf course. Right next to a very nicely done grain facility. And then, not to be outdone, this circus scene is just amazing. And then, of course, the amazing G-scale layout. Very, very nice. But I like Coca-Cola. I think this guy's got me beat. This is the Boeing Group's end track layout. They set up in a separate room, which makes it a lot nicer and quieter for them. The level of detail in this scenery is pretty amazing. And I really like the big city scene. Lots of wide open spaces. And a truly amazing setup yard. You can tell they're kind of rooting for the whole home team there with their Boeing fuselages on, ready for shipping. And last but not least, end scale of Bloomington Normal setup. It's a nice reefer train. Kind of a traditional setup for us. We haven't been doing this in a while. It's essentially three loops, 2 yellow, 1 red. And we're running quite a bit of DCC, but one of the loops is on DC. I want to show you the premiere of our new yard here. Here's the first public show with our brand new yard. I'm very proud of it. And a show like this, we set it up end to end and we end up with a nice staging yard. And in shows that aren't quite so busy, we break it in half and have 2 different stub end classification yards for operating. So it serves 2 purposes, and I'm very happy with the way this has worked out so far. I think we'll get a lot of fun out of it. And then always a crowd pleaser, the tornado module. Lightning and thunder and everything. It's pretty impressive. And then you guys will recognize my modules. Hooked up with everybody else's and everybody having a good time. Well, that's kind of it for this time. My group, the End Scale of Bloomington Normal, will be setting up for the Normal Train Show at Uptown Station in Normal, Illinois on June 1st. That's our next outing. And as far as for the layout, I have bought everything I need to convert my GML passenger train into over to microtrains, trucks, and couplers. So that'll be my next big project, followed closely by working on the 3 buildings for Minneapolis, so I can get it all ground from too, have it all done. So that's kind of it. As always, if you like what you saw, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll catch you next time. Thank you very much for watching.